You're listening to Dear Creator solo entry number 5. This is where I share my own reflections and lessons from the previous month, which is the month of May. And if you have a moment to rate or follow the podcast, it'd be greatly appreciated, especially if you're a creative or entrepreneur or creator. This podcast is literally for you. May was awesome, especially for Dear Creator. I started a lot of new conversations. I shared more behind the scenes of some ideas I'd like to bring to the show. And we have a bunch of new guests lined up who are booked to chat about their entrepreneurial evolution and creative journeys for the summer. I'm so excited. I feel like what we're all creating together is something that needs to exist. Because a lot of things on social media, on the internet, even in the day-to-day stuff, in the day-to-day grind, it sometimes feels a bit performative, and something that I really want Dear Creator to come across as is a place where we can have real conversations, unfiltered, not performing this perfectionist side of business. And there are ups and downs in business. There's ups and downs in life. So let's talk about it. Let's normalize it because it's not always rainbows and butterflies. Another thing is that I mentioned some goals or a bigger vision to my Instagram stories. So we do have an Instagram for Dear Creator. It's at Dear Creator Pod. And I feel like as I've been creating this podcast, which I've always said that it's a passion project. It's something that I'm just having fun with. It's a way for me to collaborate with other creatives and put them in the spotlight and give them a platform to talk about the real things that we all kind of navigate through as we evolve and as we build businesses and our brands and navigate life and things like that. After doing it for a while now, I feel like there's this bigger vision idea, and I've been sharing a lot more about that. And so let's talk about it for a little bit. So one of the things that I really want Dear Creator to be known for and also just to build and create is a community. I want it to be very community oriented. And I think that's really important when it comes to entrepreneurship because it can not only just feel lonely, but it can also feel performative. And so cultivating community with Dear Creator really looks like connection, having conversations, and collaboration. And I think it could really be a space where we all kind of just come together, and it's like a big group chat in a way. And I think also what's something that I posted on my Instagram stories recently was how I would really like to have people on the podcast who haven't even been on a podcast before. Maybe they're thinking about it. Maybe they're afraid to be on a podcast, though I just want it to be a safe space for people to experiment and try things out as well. Try new ideas out, share who they are, what they want to do, what their hot takes are, whatever it is, come on to Dear Creator and share it. Another thing is I think it could be cool to eventually monetize the podcast through so many different avenues, right? We could go down so many different paths for how we can monetize the podcast, but I'll tell you why I would want to monetize the podcast in a little bit. But eventually, I feel like we could monetize the podcast through creating a quarterly, bi-yearly, or yearly publication of just all of the creators who have either been part of the community, who have come onto the podcast, things like that. Maybe even getting affiliates or sponsors could be cool. And the reason why I would be even considering monetizing the podcast is because I eventually, which is the biggest vision goal ever, and I really don't know how it works, is creating a grant program for entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, aspiring creative entrepreneurs. And I know it's still it's a baby that needs to be nurtured because it's such a brand new idea. But I think having this vision really creates a bigger purpose for the podcast. The idea is not for me to make money. It's for the podcast to monetize itself and build this grant program that I don't know what that's going to look like. Are they going to be mini grants where I help people pay for different applications or programs? I mean, Adobe is a pretty high investment for some newer entrepreneurs, or like maybe people need like a retreat for a week somewhere, or like an overnight where they can like really work on certain things, or maybe just to like help them with the startup costs for starting a business. I don't really know yet. I'm really curious, like, when you hear all of that, like, what are you thinking? Like, do you think that's a good idea? But that's kind of like the idea that I came up with recently. And like, I think that's something that is possible. I'm just not sure how it'll look. So that's kind of like the idea for the entire podcast. And of course, with community, I think it could be cool to have in real life or virtual events with others who have been on the podcast or who listen to the podcast, and maybe even having like a directory or something like that where people can post jobs or people can post their work. Eventually, I would like to create some sort of database where I organize all of the episodes. So, yeah. And like, ultimately, the purpose of all of this is to have fun. Like I've stated in previous episodes that it is a passion project, and I just said that too. But the passion is even more alive now that we have like a big goal we're working towards. But I also want everyone to be on board for something like that. I want us to build something together. So if that's something that you'd like to be a part of, make sure you're part of the community over on Instagram and on YouTube. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. I would love, love, love to hear them. Now, let's get into some May reflections. Oh boy. So in the beginning of May, I launched a one-on-one mentorship called Momentous. I went through the entire launch plan. And though I didn't book any clients for that offer specifically, I did book a few audits, which is another offer I have. And basically, I went through the entire launch plan because I didn't want to get back into the trap of marketing something and like not getting inquiries or not getting sales, and then just like completely ghosting and like canceling or stopping my launch. I wanted to follow through with the entire plan, which I talked to Kelsey from Coming Up Roses all about launching. There is a previous episode if you want to check it out. And this is something that we talk about as well, and just like different launch styles, launch strategy, things like that. It's really, really helpful, super valuable episode. But now, because I went through the entire launch plan and, I didn't book any one-to-one mentorship clients, but there's so many reasons why I probably did not book that, which could be because I didn't give myself enough time to like really warm up. I did warm up a lot, but I think because there was such a gap in my marketing from last year to like this spring, I think there could have been a little bit more strategic planning on how to re-engage my community on Instagram, how to re-engage my email list, all of those things. I think I was also kind of like in the weeds with figuring out my messaging and like what people would really want from this mentorship. But now, because I went through the entire launch plan, I feel like I can look back at my emails, my content, the conversations with people to see where a majority of creative entrepreneurs and service providers are at and what they actually need support with. So one of those things I do believe is a lack of direction or clarity with what they're working towards or building, which is where the audits come in really well and like actually support that. And so it makes me think that the audits are a great like first point in like my client customer journey. And so I was also thinking about how, like, when it comes to the audits, that would have been really great for some of my clients in a past group program I had called Soft Pivot, which is my methodology, my IP. And yeah, I noticed that everyone was kind of at a different stage or phase in their business, but some people were in exploration and experimentation phase. Some people didn't know where to start or what they were working towards yet. And then some people knew what they wanted. They just had to implement it or take action. So now looking at my offers, I feel like Soft Pivot held us, like, was a space for all these different types of phases of your journey. But now looking at my offers, like I have the audits, I have the mentorship. The audits are really for those people who have a lack of direction. They're trying to figure out what the root problem is in their business or their life so they can then take action on it. So that is what the audit is for. Mentorship is really for implementation, taking action, accountability, coaching, like all of those things. So what could be possible, or what could be a space for people who are exploring or experimentate? I can't even talk. Exploration or experimentation. I feel like I have a pretty solid client journey, though now for the experimenters and the testers and the people in the messy middle, I think it would be really, really helpful to have some sort of soft pivot membership for creative entrepreneurs who are in that messy middle phase, trying to figure out, want to test things out. And I think that's something that is just missing. And so in May, I've just been reflecting and really trying to understand this customer journey, my offers, everything like that, looking back at my momentous launch and just seeing like, where's everyone at right now? Not everyone is at the same phase or stage or having the same journey as, most people. Like everyone is on their own path, but it's like what could be really supportive to everyone type of thing that is currently like engaging with me or having conversations with me and things like that. So yeah, something I just like came to realize too is that I'm good at helping my clients with making the messy middle feel manageable, grounded, clear, because when you're stuck in this in-between phase, there can be a lot of like uncertainty, doubt, a lot of impatience. A lot of what you go through or like what you're working on can cause burnout. There's financial pressure, especially if you're like in a transitional or pivot stage. There's sometimes a loss of identity or confidence, but I think the biggest challenge is tolerating the uncertainty long enough for the work that you're doing to eventually compound and show results. So having maybe this like membership for that phase could complete this like entire client journey. And I'm just starting to see how it could all just be designed and if it's something people are interested in. Though, honestly, I do have a little bit of fear around creating a membership because, I want people to be engaged. I want people to gain value. I want people to help each other out and learn from each other and everything like that. And I think there's just like some misconceptions about memberships that it has to be like a certain way. But I think like if I was to do it, it would probably be like a longer term membership where it's like 6 months or 12 months. So I don't know. It's just like I'm tinkering with these ideas. I'm thinking about it and I've been thinking about it for a while, which is why I think I feel comfortable talking about it publicly. But yeah, we will see. We will see. I'm just trying to be honest and unfiltered with that. And we'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens. And if that's something that I will work through or do. But I feel like it's kind of like a slow burn and it's something that I want to be more intentional with. And the thing is, what's really helpful just because of how I've built my business and my career is that there is no rush. Like I really don't have to rush this. So, soft pivot is trademarked and it is like my IP, my philosophy, my methodology, the way that I see pivots and evolution and navigating the messy middle and stuff like that. But I think a membership could be really supportive for people. But even talking about all of that, I think like in May, I was just really connecting the dots as well between everything that I do to create like a through line. So through line is basically like a theme between everything that you do or a purpose or a goal or a message. And so everything that I'm doing with Dear Creator, Soft Pivot, my personal brand, my creative services, like everything that I do is very intentional. It's calculated and everything like that. So something that I've been really just like thinking about is just all of these, like, it's like I have these sub brands or products: Dear Creator, Soft Pivot, Personal Brand, Creative Services. It seems like a lot because it is a lot. I'm not gonna lie, it is a lot. But I think I've been able to kind of solidify what everything is and have a purpose for each thing that I do. And I actually just like wrote this out on a piece of paper because I think it was like a couple weeks ago, I was just feeling kind of scattered, low energy. I was probably just like really foggy, like luteal phase vibes. So I was just thinking about all of this. I'm like, how do I simplify? This is confusing, even though like I talk about basically similar things in everything that I do. But essentially, I have Soft Pivot, which I feel like is going to become some sort of brand. I'm not sure what that's going to look like or anything yet, but I feel like Soft Pivot is like a brand. Not only is it like my methodology and philosophy and like frameworks and stuff like that, but I feel like Soft Pivot could hold the audits, the membership, the mentorship, things like that. And also it could have its own newsletter and lead magnet. Now I have Curate the Chaos, which is my weekly newsletter, and I'm thinking about rebranding that newsletter to be called Soft Pivot or the Soft Pivot Diaries or something like that. And that is like my brand. That is like a brand. And eventually in the future, I could have products under this brand. I can have events, speaking opportunities, whatever it is. Like, I feel like it's just like a very solid idea. And then I have my personal brand, which I talk a lot about pivoting. I talk a lot about messy middle. I talk a lot about lifestyle systems, but I've also been thinking about and kind of warming up to the idea of talking about non-traditional career paths and multi-hyphenate entrepreneurship, things like that, because that is like what I do. And I think it could help people. But other than that, like under my personal brand and like me as like more of like a founder, like entrepreneur, that could really bring in some other income streams like brand deals or affiliates or sponsorships and things like that. So that's also something that I've been thinking about. And I think like, just to be clear, like a personal brand is not a tangible thing. It's not you. I feel like it's like your reputation. Like that's what a personal brand is. Some people probably have like a different point of view on that, but I think it's good to also have like separation from like what your personal brand is. I kind of think of your personal brand as like your resume in a way, but like not really. It's kind of just this like, reputation, credibility, point of view. So yeah, we have Soft Pivot, then we have Markowski, which is like personal brand founder stuff. And then the third thing is Dear Creator. And I was really debating on like, should I rebrand Dear Creator to be like Soft Pivot or something? But I like Soft Pivot is really like from my perspective. But Dear Creator, because like one of my goals is to make it more community oriented and really bring other people into the conversations and into the spotlight, it doesn't make sense for me to actually make it Soft Pivot. I think Dear Creator is like its own thing. It's our thing. It's not mine. It's ours. Yes, I facilitate it, but I don't want it to just be mine. So maybe like Soft Pivot will be a sponsor or something in the future. But Dear Creator really is like community connection. It's the podcast. We have articles, and I'm thinking about making like the directory or like the database that I was talking about. So having like episode database, maybe having like a section where it's kind of like a newspaper ad where like you go through and it's like, oh, this person has availability or this person has services that I can use, maybe having events or a publication or something like that. So that feels really good. So brand architecture, you know, you can have like, there's like a hierarchy, right? So there's like an example. I'm going to look on my computer for the example. I think Kellogg is one. Let's see. Yeah. So if you know the brand Kellogg, Kellogg is like the main brand, but then they have sub brands. So they have Frosted Flakes, they have Nutri-Grain, they have Eggo, Like that's like the brand architecture. So my brand is like Markowski Studio, like Markowski Studio LLC. Like that is like my LLC. So that's kind of like my Kellogg. And then my Frosted Flakes is Soft Pivot. My Nutri-Grain is my personal brand or like creator brand. My Eggo is Dear Creators. So that is kind of what I mean by brand architecture. If you look on Google and look up Kellogg's brand architecture, you will know what I mean. It's kind of like having a house of brands. I think maybe that's like another word that they talk about. So there's like extensions of Coca-Cola. So like there's Coca-Cola, there's Coca-Cola Zero, there's Diet Coke, and then there's affiliates. So like Dasani, Sprite, Monster. Not really sure what that means specifically, but I think you kind of get the idea. It's like having some sort of architecture to your business or your brand. When you do so many different things as a multi-hyphenate person or a multidisciplinary person, sometimes it can feel very scattered, like in your brain, but visualizing it is so helpful. Putting it on paper and just like figuring things out like in that structure is really, really helpful. At least it has been helpful for me. So all to say, I feel like the key takeaway for the business side of things or for me is just like embrace the evolution and figuring out phase. Like, everyone's just figuring it out as you go. I think the important thing is to just keep going, take action, be decisive, don't dwell or sit too long on ideas, and connect it all back to who you are, who you want to be, what you want to be known for, and ultimately your values. Like, I think that's the most important thing. So that is like the business side of things for me. Let's get into some lifestyle stuff. So, man, I feel like I'm always like coming in and out of building more healthier rituals, but I feel like the rituals that I have been getting into recently is like more self-care rituals. So trying to get to bed at a decent time, doing my skincare because I did turn 30 this year. I've probably mentioned that. Like me turning 30 has become a personality trait, but like I'm here for it. I love it. I also scheduled my doctor's appointments for the year. I mean, it's late May now. Finally did that. I always procrastinate. I just really don't enjoy going to the doctor. It's always the worst day ever. The worst time. It's not fun. I've been trying to not like work at night too, because I typically get like 2 bursts of energy throughout the day. I'm super energized in the morning, and then after my contract work, I sometimes get like a second wave of inspiration or ideas and things like that. So I'm just like trying not to do that. I'm reading more audiobooks and writing more, consuming less. And it's just like some of those things are just very healthy for the brain, for the mind, for the soul, physically, everything. Like it just makes you feel a lot better. And it has made me feel a lot better. Not that I was feeling bad, but sometimes when you are just like in the cycle of like doing a lot or doing things, you can get out of that like, oh, like I should take care of myself too. My body needs this. My mind needs that. I need to rest. I need to see friends, or I need to do my skincare. Just things that make you feel good. I feel like this is the time of year to really like focus on that stuff. And honestly, spring always just feels like there's this burst of energy. And I'm someone who has highs and lows when it comes to creative output and motivation. I also feel like I evolve really quickly, like pretty quickly, honestly. Like I can change my mind, I can take action fast. So sometimes with like the fluctuating energy, I believe it's just good to have a few non-negotiables to your daily routine or your rituals to help you stay grounded. And I actually interviewed Taylor on Dear Creator, and she shared her daily rituals, and that was like super helpful. And what I liked about how she talked about her daily rituals, which were more so on like the morning side or the evening side of things, is that it's not always the same. Maybe she doesn't do everything that she wants to do. And some days look different. What was really cool to hear is that like she knows what grounds her and gets her ready for the day or the end of the day. So if you want to check it out, like that episode, I'll link it in the description. Something else that is interesting that I reflected on this month is that motivation isn't always enough to keep going. But when I feel good physically or mentally, that typically is enough to keep making progress, even if it's like a small task that I accomplish. I used to get asked all the time, like, what keeps you motivated? Especially from people like in my personal life who might be working like more traditional jobs or retail jobs or whatever. And, they've seen me do this entrepreneurial thing for a while. But like, if I'm completely honest, like I'm not really motivated. I don't feel motivated. I honestly don't want to work. Who wants to work? I think there's only a select few of people who actually want to work. I don't want to work, like ever or at all. Sure, I want to do things. I want to make things. I want to share things and things like that, but I don't want it to be for work. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to work. I don't. But what I do does feel like a bigger purpose or a body of work that I'm building that supports me, like my life, fulfillment, flexibility, freedom, but also it will help others. And that's what like keeps me going, to be honest, like helping others. Is that because I'm a people pleaser or a recovering people pleaser? I don't know. But I'm not like just working to make money. I'm working because like I believe in something and I want to help other people do what I've been able to do in their own way. Another thing that I was thinking about with this topic is like I started a business and always knew I wanted to start a business or have a non-traditional career path. I wanted freedom and flexibility to work when I want, where I want, how much money I make. So that really was the start of everything. Like that was like motivating, I guess. But as I do more, learn more about myself, I see that I can really make a difference or build something that impacts people like you. And that's what keeps me going now because I figured out the non-traditional career path by building a multi-hyphenate career. And honestly, like, let me know if you want me to talk about that more or make a YouTube video or a podcast episode about it, because I think multi-hyphenate careers, I think were kind of like built for creative people, or at least like creative people can thrive in them. The start of everything for me was to have that flexibility, to have like this career path that is like mine. Like I'm choosing this. I have full autonomy on this choice, this path, this thing that I've built. And now it's like, okay, well, I figured that out. So now what? And I think it's like to help other people do something similar in a way. But yeah, what's interesting is sometimes when I like record these, I forget what I even said or talked about because I'm just kind of like speaking from within, if that makes sense. But yeah, as the weather gets nicer too, I can tell you right now, like I won't have motivation to do much. Like to do work, do the essentials, the bare minimum. And, there's always something fun to do when the weather's nice. Like I love to lay outside, read books. I love to garden. I love to go out for food and go to concerts. Those things don't make me money, but I think you can create systems or routines to help you get what you need done and then enjoy the rest of your day. And with summer coming up, maybe it's time to really look at how you can do that. So now is a great time to start building those systems. Plan out what you want your summer to look like first, like life first planning, and then ask yourself, okay, what offers should I sell? How can I do that while having a spacious, slow, fun summer, like whatever type of summer you want? And thinking about like, okay, maybe there are a few days throughout the summer where you just batch content and marketing and schedule it out. Like, are you able to do that? Like, can you just do that so you can have 4 days off a week or 3 days off a week? Or maybe you want to like reach out to past clients and just like book a few projects this summer so you don't really have to market publicly as much. It all is very personal to you on how you want to live your life in the summer, what you want to experience in the summer, what your goals are in your business, things like that. So if you haven't done that already, like maybe this is a sign to do that. Let me know if you need help with that. But yeah, those were my May reflections. I hope this was like insightful or valuable for you. Again, like we have some new Dear Creator features or like ideas I've been circling. I would really love your input or ideas on it as well. I already talked to you about like the database or like directory I've been thinking about, but another thing that I was thinking about was having some sort of public form called Creator Confessions where you can submit an anonymous message, question, or story you want to share, and we can share it on the podcast. It would be fully anonymous. So I think like it's just like a way to like get things off your chest or ask questions, get free advice from guests or me or whoever. And then another thing is if you would like to be on the podcast, you can submit an application form. Just head to the description or DM me on Instagram at Dear Creator Pod, and I would love to have you. Thank you so much for being here. I love hearing from you. So if anything resonated or if you have any specific questions you'd like me to answer, leave a comment below. See you next time. Bye.